This episode is brought to you by RevUp Academy. Hi, CS Pros. I just wanted to quickly jump in and let you know that if you are enjoying the podcast, but wondering how you too can become a revenue-focused customer success professional, then I have the answer for you. Some of you might not know this, but I run a cohort-based coaching program that walks you through step-by-step on how to align customer success strategies with revenue. And it's called RevUp Academy. It's my complete step-by-step coaching program that helps you elevate your skills and your mindset to focus on driving revenue for both your customers and your company. And it is a live coaching program where we open doors for enrollment only a few times a year. And the next time we're opening doors is in September. So if you want to end up on our VIP waitlist and get in before doors open in September, head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/rev-up. Go over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/rev-up or check the show notes for more information. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Anika Zubair, and welcome to the Customer Success Pro podcast, your go-to space for real talk, expert advice, and actionable insights in the world of customer success. I'm a CS executive leader, award-winning strategist, CS coach, and customer success fanatic. I help CSMs and CS leaders build the skills and the confidence to become revenue-driving pros and scale world-class CS teams. So whether you're brand new to CS or a seasoned leader, this podcast is here to support your growth. Because customer success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And I'm here to be your guide and navigate every step of your journey. So join me every Wednesday where you'll get fresh CS tips, tricks, and strategies you can actually use. Some weeks I'll share my own insights and best practices from working in CS over the last 13 years. And once a month, I'll bring on expert guests to dive into the most relevant and pressing topics in customer success today. So if you're ready to level up, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in, and let's make your CS journey a little bit easier together. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Andrea Kayal, Chief Revenue Officer at HelpScout, where marketing, customer success, customer support, and every commercial team reports into her. What makes Andrea's view so interesting is the path that she took to get here. She came up through marketing, serving as a CMO before stepping into her full revenue remit. So she really sees how post-sales side actually contributes to growth in the way most revenue leaders might miss. And the company she is currently working out is called HelpScout. And HelpScout currently serves around 12,000 customers, mostly companies of 500 employees or below. And Andrea recently led a full resegmentation of that customer base. And today we are getting into how she pulled that off with a small team and why she is convinced that human-led support is a revenue driver, not a cost line. So Andrea, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you. Let's jump into this conversation. Welcome, Andrea, to the show. Before we get into today's topic and really get into it today, I would love for you to share in your own words who you are to my listeners, a little bit more about yourself, how you started at HelpScout, where you found yourself now, kind of your role, your background. Just give us a little bit of insight into your career.
Sure, happy to. And also thank you for having me. So currently the Chief Revenue Officer at HelpScout. I have a team of about 20 people. That is everything from marketing to sales, partnerships, and then, the customer's team. But my current role wasn't always my role. I started my career as on the marketing side for big brands like BMW and MasterCard. Had some really fun jobs. The BMW art cars, which were painted by, for example, artists like Andy Warhol, and then worked on big brand events like the 2006 FIFA World Cup. So had a lot of big brand experiences in my background. And it really showed me kind of like how marketing helps endear consumers to the brands. And so, I fell in love with marketing and then got into tech very early on after that and stayed in tech ever since. I worked for varying stage companies, 5 million to 50 million, really just taking companies through each phase of their growth. And most of my career wasn't on the marketing side as CMO, but most recently in the last 5 years, I transitioned to CRO. I have obviously marketing is near and dear to me, but as the chief revenue officer now, I focus on all the commercial work that we do. So that's from the very beginning of the journey on the marketing side all the way through to how we support our customers. So that's been a very exciting transition. And then just as far as HelpScout's concerned, I was on the board of HelpScout for 2 years prior to joining. And the real impetus for me to move from board member to CRO was how HelpScout really treated their customers. We have very low churn at HelpScout. And I think it's because HelpScout always did a great job of treating every single customer with, importance and urgency and really thoughtful way to care for them. And I think that's carried through. And I know that'll be, some of the topics you talk about today. So
Yeah.
thank you
I
for
love
having me.
that. Of course, of course. And also for everyone listening, I was ages ago once a HelpScout customer. That's what made me smile when we decided to have this conversation. But in my very first head of customer success role, I was a very small startup, and HelpScout was the tool of choice that we decided to go for my support team to actually look after tickets. Managing the queue, managing all that stuff. HelpScout was our like documents and also our help docs, everything was in there.
Yes.
And it was really seamless, honestly, from onboarding and everything. So it's awesome to see how much the company's changed and grown, and also your career as well, going from CMO to CRO. You don't hear that very often, if I'm honest. It's like, it's not that usual jump, but it's also interesting to see that, you went from such big logos down to a true nimble team that's running full end to end, and looking after a very large company customer base where it's over 12,000 customers, which we'll get into in a minute. But I'm super curious, what does the breakdown of the team look like, especially let's call it the customer facing team? What does that look like at HelpScout? Is it mostly support, success, onboarding? What does that all look like?
We call that Team C team. And it is comprised of customer success managers, a small group of customer success managers, but primarily C team is customer support. And that's the reactive support that our customers get if they have a question or they're writing into their queue. Obviously, we use HelpScout as HelpScout to support our customers. That team is comprised of, I would say, like levels, for lack of a better term, of people inside that organization where depending on how complex or sophisticated the question is, it gets, routed to somebody who could be more technical, in areas of that. But every single person on C team has been, I think, everybody is definitely over 2 years at HelpScout, but some as many as, 5. And the head of customers, our VP of customers, Abigail Phillips, has been at HelpScout for 10 years. So a lot of like really deep tacit knowledge about the product and how we support our customers at HelpScout is, I think, benefits from the fact that there's so much tenure.
I love that. 10 years at any given tech company is a long tenure. That's amazing.
We really benefit from her experience with the product. I know tech has turnover and go to market in particular. I don't know, 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is. I think 2 years is a very long time in any sort of go-to market role.
Totally. So, but every time we have a question mark relying on kind of the historical information about did we try this? Why aren't we doing it this way? It's just nice to have somebody who's this historian of facts. Anyway, so we're so that's how the C team is kind of organized.
I love that. And you have a pretty, I'd say split of, like you said, success versus support, which being a support tool yourself, it's interesting to hear how you guys kind of decide to support and service your own customers. What is the difference? What are they held accountable to? What's the KPIs, or what does support do versus the success team at HelpScout?
Support is the reactive. That's any of our customers writing into the queue, that team of about, I would say, I think it's 7 customer support reps. They have KPIs like SLAs, how many times does it take to respond to answer the question fully. The quality of those responses, all measured by CSAT, customer happiness. That's obviously something we're tracking. And customer success is focused on onboarding. So for some of our larger customers, just making sure that from day one, they're set up for success. We have two onboarding types. We have one that's basically like a truncated or like fast track onboarding, where like maybe the customer isn't massive, but they still like want, some support when they need it. That's more of the on demand, getting them up to speed. And then for pro customers, which is, are like sort of this enterprise plan, we have an account manager who gets dedicated to that account. We have a customer success manager onboard them. And then after that, they actually have an account manager. And that person is responsible just for their overall success, the renewals, making sure that they know about all the products and product adoption and those kinds of things. They do QBRs with the customers. So it's just like white glove service for anybody
I
over
love
time.
that you have account managers as well. I feel like that's kind of been the new trend, or I don't know. I was an account manager in a previous life too. And I just think that it's interesting to see how within tech and software, we're kind of doing like a 360 on the CSM versus account manager role, because I was an account manager before, I guess, customer success manager title even exists. But now it seems like a lot of companies, and it sounds like HelpScout is doing the same exact thing too, where it's like focus on adoption, onboarding, value delivery, outcome delivery with a customer success manager. And I'm guessing the account manager is looking after the commercial or either growth opportunity identification or renewals or something like that.
Exactly right. Yeah. Account managers are really focused on for the larger customers. So that's for us today, it's $25,000 or more. That's basically, those are the pro customers. They get an account manager because there's just more opportunity for like white space, we call that, which is, they may not know of all the products that they could use or adopt. So, we want a human being to facilitate that process. And then certainly on the renewals, we want to make sure our customers feel heard. Is there a gap in the product features? Do we actually need the account manager to go to the product team and say, hey, this customer matters to us? I mean, all customers matter to us, but they're investing in HelpScout, to X degree. We need to build this feature for them. We have a monthly go-to-market alignment meeting where we use that time for the account manager to come in, for our VP of customers to come in and talk about all customers, no matter their size, and say like, hey, this is what we're hearing from the market. This is how we're prioritizing our roadmap to make sure that especially for the higher value customers are heard. And so that's where I think a person is really important. That's the relationship management side of it, where somebody wants to feel, seen and heard. The CSM, there's a CSM focused on onboarding. There's another CSM focused on the entire base because we have, as you mentioned, we have about 12,000 customers. Making sure that if someone writes into the queue and maybe the question is like more complicated, or it deserves a conversation, a phone call, not like some asynchronous emailing back and forth, that CSM will get on the phone with the customer, no matter their size, just to make sure that they can handhold them through, that problem. Because, I mean, sometimes you just want to get a person on the phone,
Yeah, 100%. You want to have a conversation. And I have said this in multiple podcasts before. I know you and I have talked about it before when we caught up, but truly, humans want humans to one degree. Yes, you can troubleshoot via chatbot or AI or something along those lines. But at some point, you are, like you just said, you're going to get frustrated, or you're going to be tired of a generic answer, and you want to get very specific, very niche to the problem you're facing, and very much into your use case and your integrations and your whatever you're building with your product and service. And sometimes, no matter how much you train or build or have an AI bot agent or templates to reach out to customers, it does require, like you said, human intervention, where you're able to actually have a conversation. Where it's very interesting how you kind of split up the team and how it all looks as well, because I think a lot of people are getting nervous that having account management means that CS is no longer relevant, because account management is just going to manage the account. But there's so much more, like you said, that the customer success manager is doing outside of just the renewal conversation. And I also just think it's not fair to say that they have to do all of these things. I personally feel like the CSM role has been given every title under the sun, meaning like literally it's the kitchen sink of, you do something for the customer and then you also do everything for the customer. And which means it's really hard for CSMs mostly to really be proactive and be able to showcase value without having to run from like pillar to post to figure out what to do with each customer. But it's interesting how you have a mix of almost like you just said, the C team, the whole team interacting with the customers based on, again, what part of the journey they're on, what kind of frustration they're feeling, what's their engagement level like. All of that seems to factor into your journey, which is really interesting. Quick pause before we get back into our podcast episode. I want to talk about something Andrea and I keep circling around, which is seeing revenue risk before it's too late. And as we're heading into summer, which means Q4 is closer than ever. And in SaaS, Q4 is where the bulk of your renewals and expansions close. And here's the thing most teams are missing. They are working to save an at-risk renewal landing in October, November, or December, and they have to start at least 90 days out to do that. Guess what? That is right now. So if your team only learns to forecast and run renewals in Septembers, the revenue is already going to be slipping, and then you're going to be acting way too late. This is exactly why I train customer success teams to do in half-day workshops. We end up doing forecasting of renewals, spotting at-risk accounts early, and running the renewal conversation that protects your end-of-year revenue. This is a workshop that you're going to want to book with your team before the summer ends so that your team can walk into Q4 able to see the risk while there's still time to actually figure something out and protect the revenue of that client. If you are interested in helping your team identify risk, grow revenue within your existing client base, and land those renewals before Q4 ends, go ahead and go to thecustomersuccesspro.com/team-event and book a call with me so we can grab some time to talk about a workshop for your team. All right, now let's get back into our episode. I want to talk about 12,000 customers because that's a lot of customers for, you said 20 people in your full org, but only how many in the C team?
There's 12 people on C team.
12 people and 12,000 customers. That's wild. Yes. Clearly, there's something that you guys are doing when it comes to either segmentation or like breaking down how you're serving these 12,000 customers. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what does that look like? Because there's no way you could be serving them all the same way with 12,000 of them.
A big kudos goes to the product for the user experience being intuitive. Mm-hmm. Because of that, the questions we get are solvable quickly. Again, there's a
That's always great. It's always great to have a great product. To actually use.
This is why, and maybe this is a controversial point. This is why I do truly believe that the retention target, the churn target, should be on the product team, because at the end of the day, it isn't going to be a human being that can save someone, even the best CSM or the best account manager on the planet.
I like this.
Someone realize value in the product if it's falling down in certain areas. And this is precisely why I joined HelpScout. It's because that doesn't tend to be a problem for us, like this leaky bucket where people are like getting in. They're like, I don't know how to use it. It's too complicated. It needs very long implementation times. Our stats basically show that like you can get up and running in 15 minutes and power user in a day. But because of that, I think it allows the questions for us to solve with humans to not overwhelm the queue. We're not getting hundreds of thousands of like inquiries every day about how to use a product, or why isn't this working, or this is broken, or this is confusing. By design, the product was built for people to like really understand how to use it. So I think for that reason, the team has always been a manageable size. We obviously, like everybody, gross margin is a critical like input to, our key metrics. And, we want to be at 80% or better and because CS sits in COGS, we have to like keep an eye on like how big the team is to support that. So, but from day one, I think the product played a big role in that and the ability for
I would agree. I know you said it's controversial, but I think it's valid. Like, I'm sorry, you could build the best product, but then if you don't have good salespeople to go out and sell it, or even marketers to go market it, you're going to be building a product for no one. And vice
Right.
versa, you can have the best sales, marketing, customer team try to be selling everything. But then if you don't have a product to back it up, that's actually going to hold up when it
Yes.
comes to their user experience and how they're seeing value out of it. Again, you're not going to save it if it's everything's falling apart. So I agree that there is I wouldn't just say product and engineering, but I think there's like a universal understanding that churn retention
Yeah.
is a company-wide problem.
100%.
Like it
Yeah.
has to be. Otherwise, there's no way. Like no one perfect product can continue to sell itself. Because
So
otherwise, then we would never have sales. And as we know, there's billions of salespeople out there.
yes.
But vice versa, like even with the best salespeople, if the product doesn't hand up, it has to work in tandem, which means that retention, churn, all of these metrics, as much as we own them in the commercial teams,
Yes.
something that should be shared. It's something that should be owned because it will never work. One doesn't work without the other, to your point.
If you were to like put this through like an ARPA framework, we use that at HelpScout, which is, accountable, responsible participant advisor, to determine ultimately like who owns what.
Yeah.
I do think that the A in that for that KPI should be product. I think that you could make the VP of customers and the C team participants and responsible for this to like help improve the number. But at the end of the day, it's the chief product officer who has to stand up against whether or not somebody's going to vote with their dollars. And this is sort of tangential comment to this, but like for any other like maybe go-to-market or commercial leaders who are listening, if you are interviewing for a job, the first question you should be asking that company is what their gross retention rate is, because gross retention doesn't obfuscate net dollar retention, which is like, what else did you sell into the customer base? It's purely like how many dollars are leaving every year. And
if you have a big problem there, I wouldn't want to be a part of that organization because it just tells you everything about your product if you have that many customers leaving.
Yes. And the first place companies go when they have a problem there is to want to shut down sales and marketing because they're like, we have a leaky bucket. So if you're a customer's leader, you're like, maybe it's a problem I can help solve, but I would really be like pointing to the product, like what's up here, or is like marketing driving all these like non-ICP customers and it's just not a fit? Like, where's the problem? And then if you're, a sales and marketing leader and you have a gross retention problem, you're like, gosh, I really need to dig in here because I don't think my teams will be funded to drive more in if they're all going out the back. So that's why I think just, you were asking, your original question was like, how does such a small team support so many customers? I do think it's because the product just works. Yeah. And because of that, the questions they have to answer are
super simple, but also to the point, like you are able to continue to grow and continue to keep such a large number of customers with such a nimble team because the product does what it says on the tin, which is perfect. But again, I don't think you're serving them all the same way, even though you have this wonderful product, which again, I can attest. Yeah. I evaluated it back in the day in my first head of CS role and it was wonderful. And again, we brought it on board. It was great. But I would love to understand, what does customer success look at that 12,000? How do you guys even like serve that many customers? Because there's no way they're getting calls every month. That's like, it's impossible.
We just rolled out a new framework for how to think about this. So every customer at a baseline, we make sure is like taken care of very simply by like SLAs to get back to them when they have questions. So you're going to get a great baseline level of support at HelpScout. The question for us was more like, we do have customers that could be more valuable to us because they have either an expansion opportunity. So we thought about it like in terms of like tiering the customers. And then basically like, what does the support overlay look like because of that, based on where the white space is? So expansion opportunities, like they're not using these products. They should. We should go tell them. Or product adoption, meaning like this customer actually may feel a little unhealthy to us. We need to like get them using more product features because they're not getting the most value out of HelpScout. So then there's this like health score overlay. So we basically said, let's break the customers down by total revenue. Let's see where they fall in terms of tiers. For now, we have 4. And by the way, this is work we only recently just did.
Okay.
As an exercise, we so we use Claude for this, obviously. We have, by the way,
I
we
was
use
about
it.
to ask, like, how did you
Yeah.
even start? Because that's a lot of customers. Were you using
Yes.
AI? What kind of
Yes.
tooling were you do to really break this all down?
We use a technology called Hex.
Okay.
I big fan of this technology. A big fan of our data team also because they just made sure that every data point we could possibly capture about our product, our internal data points, like our Salesforce, our HubSpot, every piece of data we have is connected all through Hex. And now you can go in Hex or you can go into Claude because that's connected, and you can just query this and say, so we just started out by saying, can you show us where natural splits would be for our customer base based on how much they're, based on the contract value? Where would be natural splits for us to think about a customer support model with these overlays, white space and customer health? And
Okay.
it was great. Like, just there's so many data points
So
that
we did a lot of white space analysis for you,
oh yeah.
essentially, to
Oh,
really
totally.
analyze. Love that.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. And it's an overlay just to say, like, how do we want to put people on that, either on proactive support or on white space or customer health, which is this like product adoption. So
Yep.
that was the framework we used. But really, I think the best thing to say about that is, because this would be nuanced for every business, like some customers may not have 12,000, maybe you only have like 100 or 500. I would do a lot of prompting to understand like where your analyst thinks there could be natural opportunities, inside of your organization. You need to get that all connected first, but it did. It broke it up into 4 tiers. And then it basically, inside of each cell, it said, if you're looking for expansion, here's how I would put people in each of these buckets, both CSMs and account management, in support of white space or in support of proactive customer support. And then it gave us like a number. It's like, I would recommend, or you're appropriately staffed for this. This is how people should be spending their time. And it was awesome. So I think it was
love
just
that.
work
I
for
love
us.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, if I was a leader, like doing this for the first time, because I bet you there's a lot
Yeah.
of people listening right now where they're like, that sounds so cool. Like, I know I need to segment my customer base.
Yes.
I know I should probably segment, like you said, into different tiers. And one
Yes.
is probably like, what's my growth bucket? What's my
Yes.
maintain or my okay bucket? And then what's my at risk bucket, which is what normally comes to mind. But I love how you've kind of layered number of things there. You've layered like, what resource do I have to put behind this
Yes.
this tier of customer? Where's the growth behind this tier of customer? There's different layers here. So if I was just starting off, and I know that you mentioned prompts and really asking it to do more and refining those prompts,
Yes.
but can you walk us through like practically, where did you actually start? And if someone was starting from scratch today, where would you guide them or tell them how to kind of do this level of analysis where it gives you those kind of layers of
The first
segmentation?
The first step to that is to determine which variable do you think you should be breaking your tiers by to start. Ours was ARR. I think that that's the most reasonable way to think about your customers, not because you want to think about them as a number, but because you are, at the end of the day, it is a customer support model. You're trying to find out which customers need the most support, and then where is your tolerance economically to actually provide that level of support. So ARR is a good natural break for deciding, okay, everybody in tier 1 is, let's just say, $5,000 annual contract and below. Tier 2 is whatever, between 10 and 5, 20 and 15, and then 30K and above, right? Like you should have some idea for how you think about the
I
initial
mean, you
variable.
generally do anyways. Like, I think most of us
Exactly.
have like the top 20, the
Exactly.
middle 50, the bottom 30, whatever it is. Like we have different, at least mental math of what we
100%.
think our customers all fall into.
Exactly. The second piece of this is then the overlays. That was the second piece for us, which is like, what are we really trying to do here? Well, obviously, we want to move customers up ARR bands, right? So the second overlay to that is white space. So we're like, okay, where are the product adoption opportunities? For example, we have a product called AI Answers. This is basically the AI Answers helps with, tier 1 support right now. It's like if somebody went to the website and they get to the beacon, which is the chat window, they have a question like, what's my password or whatever, or password reset. I don't know. That's obviously very basic, but they could chat and like figure out how to do that with AI Answers. that is a product we bill by consumption. So you buy HelpScout with seats and then you buy by consumption. But there's a bunch of customers like not using that right now. Where is that white space inside of the tiers for AI answers? So that's like
Interesting. I
one
love that.
product overlay for white space.
Yeah. But did you tell it that product or did it kind of
Yes.
just understand? Okay, you did. Okay. So
We
you were
did.
really clear, like, I want to do
Yes.
white space analysis and these are our product lines, essentially.
Yes.
That's what okay, got it.
Exactly right. I said, show me the white space opportunity for AI answers. And that's where this is amazing. It just goes in and it's looking at all the, product usage or whatever. And it's like in each tier, this is how much revenue opportunity is available for white space. And then we're like, okay, well then how would we staff against that?
Yeah.
And it determines like where you put people. And then the second is on product usage. Like these companies aren't using workflows. They should, because they're not getting the most value out of, HelpScout. And so how would we staff for that by tier? So
I love that.
those are just two examples, but those are what I would call overlays on the tiers.
Yeah. But I love that you're using AI to do that level because I think, again, in traditional ways of SaaS and the way we've always segmented customers has been what you've just said, ARR, very, I don't want to say easy, but it's almost like, what are our highest revenue customers? Those are the ones that get the most amount of resource, time, et cetera. But there is usually, and I always say this whenever I do talks or workshops with teams, is that usually a lot of revenue is hidden in the middle chunk of your customer segmentation, but it takes a lot of time, brain power, energy, whatever you want to call it, for someone to go and do the analysis of their book of business of that middle tier to really understand, hey, what are they not using us for? What could they be using us for more? And usually, again, CS people are the most time poor people, I think, in SaaS and technology, that they have all the intention to do all that, but more times than not, they're just kind of rushing it. And they're just kind of thinking, oh, maybe this account's kind of like opportunity for growth, but they're not actually doing that level of analysis. So, which is so interesting that you've been able to get AI to do that and split it all up. But I want to talk about something that you've told me before, which I find even more interesting, which is once you segmented, you told me that you have revenue generated from your customer support team, not success, but the support team is actually helping one of those tiers of customers, and then they're generating revenue, which is, again, amazing, but I don't think we hear that enough. We always hear as support as like, oh, they're just there to answer the question. They're there to technically get the customer across the line. But are they actually having commercial conversations? And I would love to hear how, now that you've done all the segmentation, you now have your support team, who's mostly tickets and triage is their job, is now generating revenue for you guys. How did that even start? Where did you even go, or how did that even happen?
Totally. There's two ways of thinking about how they were driving revenue. The part we were talking about before this call that I think is the most important way this shows up for us is in the percent of revenue that people self-select to say, I've used HelpScout before, or I was recommended by HelpScout. The reason that's happening is because I do think that the product is easy to use and easy to set up, but our customer support is top notch. Our customer support team is thorough, kind, funny, helpful, like on top of it, and technical when necessary. Because of that, I think it's a differentiator. And I know in our data that that's what's driving the referrals. Customer support, being great at customer support, the human beings is
so they're because of support. They're now getting more inbound for you. That's what you're saying, like referrals 100%. Of brand new customers, not just growth of the existing customer, but new customers.
New customers.
I love that.
Yeah, it's 30% of our new revenue coming from this.
Wow. From just support being amazing. And then, I know you have your marketing too, but I was just about to say, marketing must love you. Support team.
They do love the support team. Again, like, okay, is it like, are they writing in to say like, Chrissy specifically is the reason I refer, like, I'm making the tie. I'm saying because I think our support is a differentiator. Obviously we care deeply about support. It's the product, but because ours is so excellent and which shows up in CSAT and NPS and everything else. And people are just telling us, I was referred to HelpScout by a friend or colleague. That referral is happening because I think our support is so great.
I love that. So that's how you directly trace it back, is when you like ask them, hey, how did you come across us? And they're
Yes.
like, oh, we were referred, and they were said that you guys had great support.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We
I love that.
hear that
And
all the time. Yeah.
but that means that you guys aren't using AI for support, which could be
Well,
another
yeah.
thing. Or maybe you are using a bit of AI, but it sounds like you have real humans on the front
Yes.
lines driving real interactions with your customers that's then resulting in, like you said, 30% of your inbound referrals. But
Yes.
what are you guys doing with, because that's the other thing that I think is controversial right now is
Yeah.
I think all companies are like, let's throw support out. It can be an AI bot agent, whatever. We don't need to have humans answering basic questions. What do you say to something like that? Because clearly your humans are driving sales for you guys.
I would agree that the AI can answer basic questions, and ours does. We have a great
Okay.
product for this. It's called AI Answers. We use it. Somebody comes
Okay.
to the site, they have a basic question, like they have a question about our doc site that you were talking about. Like, what is knowledge base? How easy is it to deploy HelpScout's knowledge base? We have amazing answers to basic questions that do not require a human being. What that allows, though, is for the human being interactions to be awesome, very thorough, very timely, gets the answer right and done faster because they're not worried about the nonsense stuff that you don't need a person for. So I would say that it is because we have AI answers and AI on the easy stuff, it's totally accelerated and amplified good customer support to like exceptional customer support, because that's what their time should be focused on. Because you do,
I love that.
yeah, we're still not at the point where like every possible, I would call them tier 2 and tier 3 questions, which is like maybe very specific account data related to like a custom field or something that AI is just not focused on answering right now. That's where a person really does better. And we still continue to invest there. That's very important to us.
Yeah, I love that. And would you say the main differentiator there is, like you said, the more complex answer? Like, where do you draw the line? Because I think that's where everyone is getting confused of, this is what AI can do for customer support and this is what humans can do. And like you said, because a human stepped in at the right time with the right answers, it's resulted in you guys generating revenue from that interaction. You clearly aren't driving people away, which I hear that also quite often is like, because customers are so frustrated with how much AI first a company is doing, that they're so annoyed that they're like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere else because there's no human here.
Exactly. I mean, it can make or break, your brand. Maybe some brands are big enough where like it doesn't, they're needed and maybe they just don't care to put as much effort into like how a customer is supported. That's just not our philosophy. But the way at that answer to that question is we have AI answers on HelpScout.com right now. And if you go there and you had a question, the first thing you're served with is what we call beacon. And you can ask your question right there. It looks like Claude, in the bottom right. It's like, ask me anything.
Yep.
If you are not satisfied with that answer, you are given immediately the option to connect with us, connect with a human. Okay. That's what we call no dead ends, because we're like, sometimes actually the better experience for the customer is to just immediately get their question answered if they can. Yep. But if immediately it's not answered, we immediately want to connect you with somebody who can get that done for you. So
got it.
It's a self triage kind of like situation. And that tends to happen when the question is just more complex, where AI answers isn't looking into like the soul of the account. The human will have to do that. And then they can work with them on the solution. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, I completely agree, by the way. And I think coming back to your earlier point about how AI is doing some parts, but then there's always human intervention, or there's something a human's doing that's just going to land better. I just think that right now, everyone in tech and SaaS is saying AI first, AI first, AI first, especially in support. And I really feel like it's causing more harm than benefit at the moment. And also, it's annoying because we're just not at the stage yet. Is AI evolving? Of course. Are there tons of agents being built? Of course. But can AI replace your support head for like with an agent right now? Can you cut someone in support to then replace with an agent? No, because at the end of the day, you are getting 30% of net new revenue because there's a human interaction happening there. And I will always say it that humans buy and sell from humans. It's just how it's going to be. I really doubt even 50, 100 years from now, someone's going to want to buy from a robot or
Yeah.
anything. Because how annoying do we get even when we have to wait and talk to like the automated voice, like when you call your bank and it's not actually anyone, it's just an automated voice. That's been around for decades. And I still get annoyed every single time I have to get a hold of a human. And I just think, again, there has to be human intervention because there's almost like working with AI as a co-pilot rather than replacement, which I think everyone is just thinking, yeah, it is 100%. It is a tool. It's a tool.
Like, when Excel came out, they weren't like replace the accountants, but they made sure that every accountant was using Excel as a tool to accelerate their work. And that is no different here. AI first, there's a caveat to that though, which is until it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, or until it frustrates someone that they leave or whatever the case is.
It's like, okay, sure. We agree. Sure. Try to help yourself first because it could just be faster, better, easier for you. The minute you are not happy with that though, it stops becoming AI first very quickly. It's like, nope, human, to the rescue here. So the idea that AI is replacing customer success and customer support people right now, it is not the right picture of what's actually practically happening from an operating standpoint inside of companies.
Yeah.
We want it to accelerate their work so that the support gets better. Yeah. But there's still no way that AI is able to answer every customer support problem right now. And that, that's just the spectrum of where we're at. And I recently just heard the founder of Thoma Bravo, it's like one of very large venture capital firms. They've invested in some of the largest tech companies on the planet. Orlando Bravo was like, because there was this whole idea about SaaS apocalypse and AI is, just taking over everything and tech companies are in trouble. And he's like, the SaaS apocalypse is over. What we're finding is just that like, it is an accelerator for these companies, but it is not, by no means just like a replacement everywhere, clear across the board. And I'm happy that that's being shared more broadly now because like I'm seeing that as an operator. So no replacements to definitely like faster, better, more efficient support is the goal.
100%. And I think I'm so glad that narrative is coming out as well, as you said, because again, the narrative I'd say at the start of this year was like doom, gloom, AI is coming and taking all of our jobs. But I do think that, like you said, it is a tool and it is something that's going to help your teams, whether you're in support, sales, product, engineering, whatever, is a tool designed to help accelerate your productivity, your execution, your insert something here. But I think in general, what's happening is people are seeing it as like, oh no, it's going to do the work for me. But how many times have you asked whatever AI tool you're using, whether it's Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever it is, how many times have you asked it and it was perfect? Like, I would love to see that stat, really, because it's never been, even the ones, even everyone who trains it so much left, right, and center, it's still not perfect because it's just a tool and it's only as smart as the humans that put in data into it. And like you said, accountants still exist, even though there's Excel and all these accounting software and everything in between. And again, banks exist with bankers in it, even though we have automatic machines to give us cash if we want cash. It doesn't matter. Like there's always going to be tools that help support humans, but it's not going to replace. So I'm so glad you agree on that point as well. And we talked about so many things today, but I'm really curious to hear one more thing before we go into our quick fires is if you were speaking to like a CS or support leader that takes like one practical thing away from this episode, whether it's segmentation, whether it's revenue from your support team, whether it's like, really making sure you're tiering your customers and layering in that AI piece. What do you think would really help change the trajectory of their business in the next quarter or next few quarters? What do you think that they should be focused on?
Two things. First, I think of the role in terms of outcomes. So like, are you, how are you focused on churn, compression, expansion, whatever that thing is? And then how are you using the tool now? Because it's automating questions you don't need answered anymore. How are you getting more efficient at like supporting the impact of that outcome for your company? So just get good at always making sure that you're tied to something that is providing like measurable impact, but using the AI to do more of that work to give you leverage where you're like, I'm a like a super CSM now because I am using AI to support the strategic work, not the, like the easy answers that AI is solving for me. So,
Yeah,
just like,
exactly. To give you the brain space to really level yourself up and be truly strategic, a business partner of like someone who can analyze and help customers grow rather than just someone who answers,
answer
like you said, basic
exactly.
questions. Yep.
Yes, because I think that's the best benefit of AI at the moment. The second thing is, um, there's an interesting happening, at least at HelpScout, where because the speed at which I think the biggest teams getting affected by what's going on with AI right now is obviously EPD, engineering product design. They're the ones that are like having the biggest reckoning right now because they're going from like shipping from a month to a week or like a week to a
Yeah,
day.
crazy. I mean, I'm always amazed. I'm like, I'm building things. I
I
never thought I
know.
could code something. And I'm like, what is this? If I was actually someone who did code for a living, what would this accelerate to my brain?
Right. But because of that, there's this like role that's emerging called like the forward deployed engineer.
Yes.
And that I think is a very interesting like concept for like CSM or like customer support team to think about when your customers have a question that traditionally you'd have to put in a queue or a linear card and wait for
Wait till a product design or someone gets back to you. Exactly.
What's possible now if you could deploy that for the customer in a day? Like, how do you start thinking about your role as more of like a product manager because building is faster? That could just be one dimension, I think, to CSMs that continue to evolve because we're not waiting. We don't have to wait anymore for like customer impact. So that'd just be one other area that I would think the two leverage points for AI as a CSM would be just like, what strategic initiatives can you use AI for that like increase your impact? And then how you think about product and what can get built and deployed for customer impact, like more instantaneously. How do you become more of a partner in that way to the customers that's the other dimension.
I love that. And it's so true. It's so true. There's so much more power. And like you just said, we can deploy something, or maybe even the CSM can make something as well, because it's possible because it's at our fingertips now rather than waiting for, like you said, oh yes, it's on the roadmap for, I still remember saying that like 12:30, like, oh, we've added it to the queue. I've created a ticket. We've got to wait until the product manager, like decides that that's priority. And then the engineers are working on it. We don't have to say those things anymore. It
You know why?
much more in our power.
You know why? Because there's less risk now because building doesn't take months and years.
Years. I would say years.
Second then. Like who cares? Prioritize it right now because who cares? Everything takes a second. And I'm not trivializing it, but like.
But it's true though. It's like we don't have to, like, of course, be mindful of what you're building and prioritize and things. But at the same time, the build portion of that does not need to take like a 3-week sprint to actually get 10 engineers to like, build out this part of the platform. It's an engineer and maybe a week. And AI.
Absolutely. You have to make sure that like, inside of that, obviously there are guardrails for like, making sure that the quality of the product stays, mature. But like, there's no longer, I just think that like as a CSM, I would be like really excited about the opportunity to deliver more value and impact to my customers more immediately. And then you really become like a trusted.
And indispensable because know so much and you have that authority, that power, that knowledge, like it's like a trifecta of information that a CSM then becomes because you're able to up level yourself with AI in that way. So I love that. Amazing. Okay. I would love to move us forward to the quick fire questions where I challenge every single one of my guests to answer the next few questions in a sentence or less. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First question for you is, if you could predict the future, what do you think customer success or customer support will focus on next year?
The forward deployed engineer mindset. How do you deliver more impact to customers?
Love that. I love that. I always love seeing everyone try to answer these in one sentence or less. They start realizing, whoa, I can't seem to do things in a sentence. It's okay. You're not the first to struggle. The next question is, which app or software do you use every day or every week? And it could be on your phone or laptop, and why?
Hex, because it's an analyst in my pocket.
Love it. Amazing. Okay, next question is, if you could change one thing about customer success or support, what would that be?
move the accountability for churn to the product team.
Love it. And my final question is, who should be my next podcast guest?
Well, I will give you a very biased answer here, but our VP of customers, Abigail, she is a wealth of knowledge. So I recommend her.
Amazing. Abigail, I'd love to have you on the show in the future. Thank you so much, Andrea, for your energy, for all your insights, for everything that you shared with my guest and my listeners today. I would love to continue the conversation, but as we wrap up, if any of my listeners have further questions, want to continue conversation, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so just Andrea Kayal. If you find me on there, DM me, I would be happy to chat.
Amazing. I will make sure to put Andrea's link of her LinkedIn down in the show notes. Thank you again so much for coming on the show.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Customer Success Pro podcast. I hope you picked up something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took just 10 seconds to leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more CS pros like yourself discover the show. And creating new episodes takes a lot of work, so leaving a nice review keeps me motivated to keep creating. And don't forget to hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcast episodes. I drop a new episode every Wednesday packed with practical tips. And if you've got a topic you'd love for me to cover or want to be a guest on my show, send me a message. All the details are in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, if this episode helped you, share it with a fellow CSM or CS leader. Remember, sharing is caring. Cheers to your CS journey, and I'll catch you next week for our next episode.